What's up, everyone? Welcome to the video. We are here breaking down this Monday Night Football Showdown slate for DraftKings and FanDuel. Now, I apologize, but this game sucks. I'm not too excited about it. I'm not sure how you possibly could be, but we have the New England Patriots taking on the Chicago Bears, and it's just ugly. 40.5 point over-under in New England. I believe 7.5 point favorites in the Patriots' favor, and just not many redeemable qualities for this game. I mean, the quarterbacks are boring. The teams are boring. Defenses are certainly going to be in play. I'm sure kickers will be as well, and just not that many fun skill position players outside of Stevenson, really. I mean, there's a couple guys that are playable, but man, absolutely brutal. So hats off once again. The NFL schedulers just absolutely killing it with these games that they put in prime time for us. And as much as I like to keep giving them props, we do have to move on. But anyway, if this is your first time here, what's up? My name is Chris Pennell. I break down NASCAR and NFL DFS each and every single week on this channel. And for these showdown videos in specific, we go through the entire slate position by position, ordered by team, because we like to keep it nice and neat here. We build a lineup as we progress through it, more so for like a single entry tournament. And then run the optimizer at the end to see who's popping the most as of right now with the ownership and just projections that I have currently on Sunday night. If that sounds good to you, the only thing I ask in return, if you can leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and hit that bell so you're notified whenever I post new content. Feel free to leave a comment down below saying whatever you want to say. Be nice to me, be mean to me. I don't care either way, but I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to check out the sponsor of the show, Prize Picks, because they do make these videos possible. And as of right now, if you're new, signing over on the website, promo code CPEN, get you an instant deposit match bonus up to $100. No strings attached. It's free money. Use it to your advantage using the link down below, or head over to prizepicks.com and make sure you use promo code CPEN when you do sign up. But as always, we will start with the quarterback position. Also, if you do want access to the sheets here, link down below in the description for that. It gets you access to the projections, all the data you'd ever need, color-coded nice and neat, so it's quite easy to follow. Cheat sheets, projections, ownership projections, the optimizer, all that fun stuff in the Discord community. Like I said, link down below. Anyway, quarterbacks. And today I have the great honor of talking to you guys about Justin Fields and Mac Jones, two quarterbacks I always consider for main slates. But we'll start with Fields here first, a little bit more expensive, $10,400. Amazing 16.5 implied team total here for the Bears on the road in Foxborough, 7.5 point dogs. And if you're looking for great passing statistics from Justin Fields, you are in the wrong place. The one thing that he will offer you that makes him at least somewhat viable for DFS purposes is the fact that he can run the football, averaging nearly 50 rushing yards per game. So it's kind of like a built-in passing touchdown floor with just what he can do on the ground. And you're going to need it because he's not going to offer you too much through the year. Because if you're looking at his numbers on the season, 145 passing yards per game, just over half a passing touchdown, actually averaging more interceptions than touchdowns on the season, and only throwing the ball 17.5 times per game with a 65% completion percentage. So yeah, times have been a bit tough for Justin Fields and the Bears offense this season, and also facing this pass defense that is currently 6th DVA versus the pass, but also bottom half of the league in terms of fantasy points allowed per game to the running back position, or I should say quarterback position, but I guess for Justin Fields, I kind of want him just to be a running back in this game. If this was a main slate, there's no chance I'm playing Justin Fields, but on a showdown slate, you have to have some interest just from a raw projection standpoint. And if I had to pick between the two quarterbacks to put in a captain spot, I would side with Fields because he can get the job done by himself on the ground. Mac Jones, not so much. Both guys, I'm fine with in the flex spot. Just saying, if I was forced to captain one, Fields makes more sense because for him to have a good game, he can do it by himself on the ground. For Mac Jones to have a good game, he needs his other pass catchers to make it work. So I think it makes more sense to get like a Jacoby Myers in the captain spot rather than a Mac Jones in that scenario. And speaking of Mac Jones, $9,000. He's expected to return from injury this weekend. And I'm not excited about it, but this is a beatable Bears defense. They have a 24 point implied team total, 7.5 point favorite at home. And his numbers on the season, well, I mean, they aren't terrible in the yardage department, I guess. 262 passing yards per game, but in the touchdown department, it hasn't been great. 0.67 touchdowns per game and over 1.5 interceptions, 31 pass attempts per game, 8.1 yards per attempt. And like I mentioned, just doesn't really run the ball too much to make it worthwhile. Although I guess he's always a candidate for a QB sneak here and there if they get around the goal line, but not something I'm totally expecting. And this Bears defense, kind of mid-pack DVOA and also 11th versus fantasy quarterbacks, a little bit better than what I might have made it seem, but I still think this is certainly a beatable secondary, but they are only allowing 186 passing yards per game. So it's not like it's anything too amazing, but they do have the higher implied team total. I think there's a better chance for Mac Jones to get some touchdowns here rather than Justin Fields. I'm fine with both in the flex spot, not too excited to get them in the captain spot. And moving over to our lineup, I don't know who I want to captain yet. Like I say, I don't pre-plan these. I just want to see what fits as we talk through it. I'm going to plug in Mac Jones in the flex spot. I'm just assuming he plays, although it sounds like he is going to. And then I'll try to get a pass catcher in the captain spot to correlate that. If I can fit in Justin Fields at the end, I will take it, but I'm going to try to prioritize a guy like Stevenson rather than Fields here. Then moving on to the running back position, we will start with the New England Patriots here first, and it's basically a two-man show. It was a one-man show past couple of weeks, and Damian Harris was out, but he's back this weekend. But we have Stevenson at $10,800 and Damian Harris at $8,400. And no offense to Damian Harris, I just wish he wasn't a thing. I prefer if he was still out because it just makes it so easy to plug in Stevenson because the guy is good when he gets a full workload. But unfortunately, Harris is bad. I'm sure he's a nice guy. No offense, like I said. For DFS purposes, I wish he was out. But Stevenson, he's been the lead back this season. He's been out snapping Harris. And when Harris was out, he was seeing basically all these snaps. Before that, it was around like the 60s to 40s in Stevenson's favor. He's going to be the main back here. I have him projected for like over 16 points. I have Damian Harris, I believe, in the double digits, but on the lower end spectrum, probably closer to 10 there. But he is a couple $1,000s cheaper, so both are playable. But Stevenson's going to be the guy I want to get to. And as good as he's been, I'm sure he's definitely going to get the most touches here. So I'm liking Stevenson, and that's not going to be a hot take or anything. Most people will have that opinion. I mean, they're a 7.5-point favorite at home, 24-point implied team total, and on the year, 14.5 rushing attempts per game, 75 rushing yards, 5.1 yards per carry, and also slightly more involved in the passing game, which gives them a little bit more upside. And this is a great matchup versus the Bears, 27th DV versus the run, 24th versus fantasy running backs, and allowing over 120 rushing yards per game. So yeah, like Stevenson, but if you want to get contrarian, you could go to Damian Harris because he is going to get some work, just not quite as much as Ramondre Stevenson. Moving on to the Bears, again, another two-man show here of David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert, although it's going to be mostly David Montgomery, who sees typically anywhere from 70 to 80% of these snaps, and Khalil Herbert usually around that 20 to 30% range. So Montgomery, the only problem here is that he's very expensive and he's a road dog, pretty decent sized dog, and only a 16.5-point implied team total. If he does not score a touchdown, you're probably not going to be too happy with the output here. And it's not like he's been great this season either. Now, some of these numbers are skewed a bit because he got hurt early on in the game, so it does kind of count against him in the per game basis. But still at only 4 yards per carry this season, just not really scoring touchdowns and under 2.5 targets per game. I know the 12% target share seems good. You got to keep in mind, though, that's on a team that throws the ball about 17, 16 times per game. So it's not that great. He's really expensive. For $200 more, I can get the Stevenson. I trust him a lot more. Montgomery's playable just because he's going to get the workload, but I think he's a little expensive. I think Khalil Herbert, he's about half the price here, but like I said, plays way less snaps. But he has been a lot more efficient this season at 6.4 yards per carry. And on a point per dollar basis, he actually projects a little bit better than Montgomery in that category. Both are fine, but not usually a huge fan of running backs that aren't big pass catchers that are going to be road dogs, especially at 7.5-point road dogs at that. All right, so moving back over to the lineup, the only thing I'm going to do right now, the only thing I feel comfortable doing is plugging in Stevenson and moving on to the wide receivers. Like, yeah, there's a couple guys that we could play. I mean, you could play David Montgomery. You can look at Damian Harris if you're trying to get contrarian. But just for this build specifically, I'm going to take, I think he's my highest projected player on the slate, so we're just going to plug him in. And moving on to the wide receivers, let's start with the Bears here first. And it's gross, guys. Keep in mind, they throw the ball like 16, 17 times per game. So there's not a lot of targets to go around, so don't get your hopes up too much. But we have Darnell Mooney, $7,400. He plays just about all the snaps. Then we have Dante Pettis at $5,200. He plays around 60%. Equinemius St. Brown around 60%. Then Velus Jones, I believe he saw close to 20% of the snaps in his last start last week. And if you look at the target share distribution this year, Mooney at 40 yards per game on 5 targets, which sadly equates to a 30% target share, and also a near 46% market share of the team's air yards. Then Dante Pettis, he's at a under 12% target share, which is extremely sad because that's under 2 targets per game. St. Brown at a 15% target share, and Velus Jones a 3% target share with an ADOT of -4 on the season, although the sample size for his targets is not huge this year. Mooney's going to be the one you want if you are forced to play a Bears wide receiver. If you're playing any of the other ones, you really kind of have to hope for magic because it's not like they're that cheap. Like Pettis is $5,200 for a guy that sees under 2 targets per game, and St. Brown's $4,600 for a guy that sees 2 targets per game. Like you kind of need a touchdown, because they're not going to be guys that get just 6 to 7 catches for 60 yards to pay off that way. Then again, to the end zone, you're probably not going to be too happy with the output. Velus Jones is a viable punt. He's $1,200, but I would not expect heavy volume. So Mooney, really the only one you want to touch, but if you're forced to play any of the others, I mean, I guess I would say Pettis, then Brown, and then Jones, but it's not pretty at all. Then moving on to the Patriots here, it's a bit of a mess because we have a couple guys questionable, but we have Jacoby Myers and Devontae Parker as the two main threats here. $8,200 for Myers, $7,000 for Devontae Parker. Then after that, we have Nelson Agholor. He's questionable, though he's got some limited practice in, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he plays. And Kendrick Bourne, who I do not have the sheet, he's not expected to play, so I think we can probably just rule him out. So that opens up the door for at least Tyquan Thornton to be a threat once again. If Nelson Agholor happens to miss as well, he's going to be the wide receiver 3 in this offense, and he will certainly have a role. Also had a touchdown, I believe it was last week, if I remember correctly. Anyway, Jacoby Myers, I like him a lot on this slate, $8,200. If you're using Mac Jones, he's the obvious pairing option. And on the season, he's getting peppered with targets. Near 8 targets per game, 27% target share, 6 catches and 80 receiving yards. That's not too bad. And Devontae Parker is also going to be a viable play. He's seeing just under 4 targets per game, 15% target share. Nice 8 out of 17.4 though. But if guys like Agholor and obviously Kendrick Bourne are out, that still opens up more targets and makes him a viable option. But as of right now, it's going to have to be kind of a wait and see approach. But I really do like Jacoby Myers, and I might actually put him in the captain spot. And let's not just say it, let's do it. Let's plug in Jacoby Myers in the captain spot. I'm not expecting greatness or anything, but he's just going to get targets consistently. 6, 13, 8, and 4. Hasn't scored less than double digits in a game this season. Did miss week 3 and week 4, but hey, I'm here for it. I think he's fine. We have Mac Jones, so it correlates well. And we still have just around $6,000 left for the last 3 spots, which does put us in a pretty good position. And then I was considering moving on to the tight ends, but I'm going to just try to plug in Darnell Mooney. I'm not excited about it, but I do need at least one bear. And I can't really think of another one that I actually would want to roster. So we're just going to roll with Mooney right now. Just under $5,000 left. So, and then moving on to the tight ends, it's pretty boring here, but we have Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith for the New England Patriots. Henry plays just about every single snap. Jonnu Smith played over 40% of the snaps last week. Looking at target distribution from this season, 3.5 targets per game for Hunter Henry and 2.6 targets for Jonnu Smith. He's half the price. The volume's going to be somewhat similar. I don't mind it at all if you want to go with Jonnu there as a source of salary relief. Then moving on to the Bears, it's Cole Kmet, and yes, Wesco sees some snaps, but the targets are very minimal from all these guys. 2.67 targets per game, Cole Kmet, 13.5% target share. Wesco sees the 10% target share on 0.67 targets per. It's gross. I'm not excited about either of these guys. If I had to pick, though, I mean, Kmet's going to be the main tight end here. But Jonnu Smith is honestly the one that I think I'm the most interested in just because of the price point. Because point per dollar wise, he definitely looks the best. But Hunter Henry's going to be in the field just about every single snap. But to be honest, none of these guys are really going to pay off unless they get into the end zone. Speaking of the 2 starters, Jonnu Smith on the other hand could get there in yardage alone. And as always, my favorite part of these videos is talking defenses and kickers. And I'm going to be honest, I actually don't mind the defense at all or kickers in this game. I'm a guy that's typically underweight on the defenses and kickers, but every single primetime slate, it seems like these guys are in the optimal lineup. Although Thursday night with the Saints and Cardinals, there was a lot of points scored, but at the same time, the Cardinals had 2 defensive touchdowns. So you just can't get away from these defenses. I don't want to captain them, but on this slate, I could see the scenario where maybe you want to captain the Patriots defense a little bit because I could see mistakes being made from the Chicago Bears offense. But they make sense here. They are expensive though at $5,600, but 16.5 implied team total, 7.5 point favorite at home. I had them projected for around 9.5 points. It's not bad. Now they do lack upside if they don't score these defensive touchdowns, but if they can just rack up turnovers and sacks, I could see the case where it works out. And then kickers, they are what they are. If they hit their field goals, they hit their field goals, they'll become decent plays. I could see this game having multiple field goals, so I'm fine with it. I prefer Nick Folk because I think the Patriots will be in scoring position more often than the Bears will, but if you're in a pinch and you don't have any Bears and you have to throw in Santos as your last piece fit, I am totally fine with that. But this is certainly one of those slates where, yeah, I could see kickers working out, but I don't think I'll captain one. And finishing off this lineup, we have just under $5,000, so I feel like, I mean, there's 2 ways we could go. We could go high end and take a punt, or we could just try to go balanced here. If you want another pass catcher with Mac Jones, you could roll with Devontae Parker here. That leaves you $2,700 left. You can fit in Jonnu Smith there. That leaves you $300 left on the table. And since we have Darnell Mooney, we do have that one necessary bear that we have to roster. But if you wanted to go the more, I would say, balanced route, you could plug in one of the kickers and Nick Folk. And that $5,300 left, you're left with guys like Pettis, Hunter Henry. But if you wanted to go the Patriots defense route, which I would totally understand on this slate, $4,100 left. I don't think I'd want to go double defense there, but you're kind of left with Jonnu Smith, and it puts you in a weird spot because there's a lot of salary left on the table. Many ways you could go. Please don't copy and paste the lineup you see on YouTube because I play 150 and don't know which one I'm going to like the most. And then moving over to the optimizer, like I said, just want to run it to see who's popping the most as of right now. Do not currently have the ownership projections up. Those will be up tomorrow morning. If you do want access to it, which if you do, links down below in the description if you want to build your own lineups and export them right over to DraftKings. But we're just straight raw dog in here. No settings, no randomness, no groups, nothing like that. But if you are someone that seriously does this, you need to set those up because you need your highly correlated lineups in tournaments and in showdowns to make sure you are building lineups the correct way. And it looks like we got our 152 crunch here. So well, I guess we already got the players tab open. So let's see who's popping the most. Jacoby Myers, a lot of him. I get it at that price point. Ramondre Stevenson, even though I think I always say that wrong. Stevenson, 71%. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he's the highest predicted player for me, I believe, even just slightly over Mac Jones. Santos, the kicker, just because I think you need a bear. I think that's the reason why he's plugging in so much, because none of the Bears really project that well. Patriots defense, a lot, even at their price point. Nick Folk, Fields. Actually, yeah, I'm not really too surprised at who's popping here. Just lots of Patriots for the most part. I mean, if you sort this by team, 72% of the lineups are Patriots and only 28% Chicago Bears. It's just hard to trust any of these Bears, so I totally get that. With that being said, guys, that's all I got for the video. I know this game is terrible, but hopefully we can make the most of it. Leave a like on your way out if you did enjoy. If you're brand new, you think you're going to keep coming back around the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button because it goes a long way, and I do appreciate that. But I wish you all the best of luck, and I'll see you all next time.